the Jake Giffin Podcast.
You don't have that fallback option, so you always like my friend says, Lyubim, you always drive in the second gear. you never shift up. You're always ready to go. So, I got to do a lot of things and accomplish a lot of goals. And then at the peak, which was for me was, I got to co-author a book with Steve Forbes, which became a bestseller in 2014. In 2015, I got to present with Brian Tracy. He's the man who showed me how inadequate I was back in 2003.
Brian Tracy, he'll do that to just about anybody.
Yeah. And then I spent more than 10 years learning his stuff, and now I got to present with him. And I said, once I have that photo, it's green light. I am going to monetize on 24 years of hard work.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Ukraine, and Ukraine was really the biggest challenge of my life in the sense that
what did you go to Ukraine?
Structure.
Why did you go to Ukraine?
2015.
Why? I mean, so you work with Brian Tracy. So you work with Brian Tracy. You're speaking with him. I mean, your career, for all intents and purposes, is going phenomenally. So what leads you? So why Ukraine?
So the UN topic was it was the first global economic initiative, and you had to do something. My topic that I wrote, that I contributed with Steve Forbes, was taxation, because I have a degree in accounting and finance, and taxation was always not a hobby, it was like an obsession. When I had a financial company, tax was my thing.
Yeah.
I knew a lot about markets, but I think at some point I knew a lot more about taxation, because that's what clients wanted. They really people wanted tax planning.
Yeah.
And President Obama signed a law called Foreign Assets Tax Compliance Act into a law. And that was, for all the Americans living abroad, it was a nightmare, because it came with criminal responsibilities, and there were cases that people were getting civil penalties. So the fines were more than the amount of the money. So the whole law was about disclosing assets.
Yeah.
There was one guy who didn't disclose 1 million, and they added all the penalties, and it came up to be 3 million. And now he's fighting in court, trying to say, look, this is not fair. It cannot be. And it was just the very beginning of a big law. And, they, at the end, when that law was implemented, then all foreign banks now automatically report Americans' assets that are overseas. There is
interesting.
Yes, there is a place where they all automatically submit. And the way it was done is that the United States said, okay, if you don't voluntarily submit information of all American clients on their assets, accounts, whatever they have, insurance policies, all their holdings, they said, we will withhold a 40% penalty on all the money that you spin around in US dollars.
That's crazy.
So it was exactly this. Everybody said, okay, cool. We're giving everything up. And it was for years. And now it's all, there's not one country that, there was somewhere that was saying no, like Chinese and the Vatican. Everybody signed up at the end. So everybody signed up at the end, and Lyubim is like, hey, I know how to solve this thing. Right now there is get out of jail free card. Really, if you come forward and you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, if you show up, you say, that the government implemented the strict law, but they had a small window where people could get out. And I said, okay, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to find Americans. So I had one client who got out. He worked for a financial company in London, and he didn't even go to the States for 9 years. And when he came back, there was a big mess because of the paperwork mess up. He was making payments, sending checks in, but because they didn't somehow mail or whatever, it was lost. He was under that Foreign Assets Tax Compliance Act. He was looking at prison time, and it took 7 months, man. Yeah, $600,000 in fines in 7 months. It was mad. So, the tax world was exciting.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
And I thought, I am going to Europe because I got to find all the Americans. And after
that makes
it was
sense.
so end of June, I spoke with Brian Tracy, and then in August, I'm on the plane going to Europe, and my plan was I was going to go door to door. I was going to take my book, and I was going to go to door to door to all the U.S. embassies and say, "Hey, look, we have this huge issue," and Americans are, and it was really, I was sitting in the embassy, and I heard people saying, "Look, we heard about this Foreign Assets Tax Compliance Act, FATCA, like." What do we do? Like, how do we become compliant? And the embassy would be like, oh, yeah, you can go to the irs.gov. And they're like, oh, it's like a website, that's it.
Nobody wants to go to irs.gov.
And then they say, can you tell us, how do we like give up our US citizenship? I heard that, man. And I was like,
wow,
whoa, this is like for real.
Serious.
Because people were really, people were scared. And I knew how to, like, we needed to do it now. So I went door to door to the US embassies, tried to pitch like seminars and workshops.
Yeah.
For the Americans who are living abroad. And they say, look, here is my book. I wrote the book with Steve Forbes. My topic is taxation. And I want to present this to all the Americans who are living in whatever country.
Yeah.
And out of all the countries that I went to, there was only Slovakia who said, okay.
Of all the places, no offense to Slovakia, right? But of all the places,
no, they were really cool.
Yeah. Of all the places you could have gotten an invitation to go and teach taxation to Americans.
I didn't care, man. I didn't care. I left the United States. I figured, look, there were 9 million Americans living abroad. If I get 1%, I made like $26 million a year. So it was a lot of incentive to go,
For sure.
And so Slovakia was really cool. We made a date to do like a townhouse. Czech Republic, the guy was like, "Are you like? We're the United States government. Are you pitching? Are you pitching to us?" And I'm like, "No."
Kind of.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Of course.
Anyway, he said,
well, it's that part of the United States government, right? It's like, you have the people at the top that make the rules.
That's exactly. That's when I got the taste. They are always in the nicest parts of a capital of any foreign land. They occupy a huge space, and when you go see them, they act like we are the United States government. And who am I? Like just somebody wandered off the street, like
I'm the guy that's going to help ordinary people navigate taxation.
And I have a book with Steve Forbes against the bulletproof window.
Yeah. Look, I'm bona fide, man. I'm legitimately bona fide. I've worked with Steve Forbes. I know.
So, Jake, basically what happens is that after going through door to door through embassies, I realized that it's going to be a lot tougher than I thought. And I got an offer to do an internal audit in Ukraine. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And that was my first experience going and actually working. It was a nationwide infrastructure company. And I came in at a really tough time, because the year before the war started, and, they were really affected because they were growing. They just went from like a regional operator to nationwide, and out of all places, they expanded east. That's where the war started.
Right.
Currency collapsed, the volumes that they were selling collapsed. So it was like an avalanche of all the unfortunate events happening at once. And I did the internal audit, and when I presented it, like the owner said, oh, okay, obviously they had to deal with issues like that, the management, there were some big questions, and they said, we're going to have to let them go. Can you please stay until we come to the point where we can replace the team, or we get to the point where we refinance all the debt that we took in US dollars before the war started. And I was there by that time probably for like 2.5 months, and nobody knew they knew who I was, but they didn't know what my role was, because I had no role. I could go anywhere. As an internal auditor, you can walk in and open anything and look anywhere. I had the key to the whole company. And one of the things I did was I said, look, you guys, you got to stop fighting, you got to stop pointing fingers. I am not trying to figure out, who did what. Like, I already see the whole picture.
Yeah.
We just got to all come together, and we have to start working, because, we cannot afford to like argue and sit here and figure out whose fault it was. It was the fault that another country came and they took part of what it's yours, and this is our reality, and we got to figure out how we're going to survive until tomorrow. My goal was just make it live till tomorrow. One more day, and it was like this for 6 years, man. So anyways, I just fast forwarded to when I got an offer, I already, they had no hope. I was born in the 70s. When I was growing up, I was 5 years old when the Afghanistan war started.
Oh, yeah.
And it lasted until I was graduating from high school. Now I go to the United States. I spent 24 years there. I come back to Ukraine. Guess what? It's exactly the same thing. We fast forward, 30 years, almost 40 years forward, but only it's not happening like in a place like Afghanistan. It's like happening like right here.
Yeah.
So I had a choice, take everything that I know, what I learned in the United States, and just step in when people really needed. They were so hopeful. I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
For my birthday, they made me a convict.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. For more information about Jake, log on to jakegiffin.com and find him on all social media platforms.